This episode contains material that may be triggering to some individuals. Please check the show notes for more information and be mindful of your own mental health and comfort levels. Hey, welcome to another episode of Quiet Confessions. Due to some health challenges and recovery time, this week's episode is actually the full version of a bonus episode I recorded back in September of 2024. It was originally titled My Story Part 2, and a bite-sized version was released in Season 3 of the podcast. There have since been more updates, and I'll summarize them briefly. But I'm giving you this full episode as my little way of saying, hey, I can't record this week, but I still want to check in with you. When I recorded this, there were still a lot of unknowns. And today, there are still a lot of unknowns. But to build upon what this episode will share with you, I am still on a journey with my health, my pituitary gland, and everything that goes along with it. In the last week alone, I have found out that there has been some regrowth of the tumor on my pituitary gland, and we are monitoring it, and nothing is emergent as of yet. I am still disabled and chronically ill, and I'm still on a medication journey. Lots of things are up in the air, and lots of questions are left unanswered. But I'm making progress every day, and just like I said then, I'll say it again now. It's both and. Things can be hard, and I can find the glimmers. So I hope you enjoy this episode that's a little bit longer than 30 minutes or less. And hopefully I will be able to record and be back with you next week. Hey, welcome to a solo session of Quiet Connection. A podcast dedicated to ending the stigma around postpartum mental health. I am Chelsea, and this is a episode that has been requested by some followers, by a few of my guests, and one that I've been meaning to do for a while, have kind of just not found the time. So I find myself with the very rare opportunity to have the playroom and most of the house to myself. So I thought, what better time than now to take you on my journey, my story, part 2, because some things have changed, you guys. So my story, part 2. When I left you last in season 1, I was super fresh into this, and I'm still pretty fresh into this, although I've been doing this podcasting thing for over a year now. I have recorded with upwards of, it's close to 100 right now, with more to go. And I still am figuring it out, and I'm still learning it, and I'm still processing my own stuff, and new stuff has come up. So I think when I left you last, I know I was with my friends Ashley and Emily, doing this one on my own, but we had just sort of talked about my having PMADs with my first, Lily. That was mostly depression, and then the extreme perinatal mental health challenges that I went through after I had my second, Avery, in June of 2022, which included a postpartum hemorrhage at home that was pretty severe and ended up hospitalizing me for a surgery and blood transfusions and all of that fun stuff. And I touched briefly on, I had 3 mental health inpatient hospitalizations for what was then diagnosed as postpartum anxiety, depression, PTSD, and OCD. Psychosis was on the table at one of those facilities. It was ultimately decided that I was leaning more towards the OCD side of things, which I've now found out my previously diagnosed generalized anxiety disorder has very likely been OCD for most of my life, and it makes a lot of things make sense. But that's kind of where we left it last time. And things have changed. Things have evolved. So since I last spoke to you guys directly with just me and my friends, I was struggling a lot with the medications that I had been put on and off and on and off. I literally filled 2-gallon-sized Ziploc bags with all of the medications that they prescribed me and then switched me from and on and off and try again and this, that, and the other thing. I have 2-gallon-sized Ziploc bags full of all of those pill bottles, which I finally got rid of. I didn't do it myself, but I had my husband take them in and at the pharmacy and get rid of them safely. But they are no longer in my house. That was a letting go thing. I struggled with symptoms that I just couldn't explain or understand, even after becoming much more stable mentally. I was gaining weight, and before we even get into this has absolutely nothing to do with body size or shape or any of that, and everything to do with not understanding why it was happening, and it was restricting my life. But I was gaining weight at a very alarming rate, and it didn't matter what I did. I could go for walks every day. I could not go for walks every day. I could change my diet. I was doing all of the things, and I just kept gaining weight. I gained over 100 pounds in less than a year. And I will say, I do not own a scale. And when I go to the doctor's office, I ask them specifically not to tell me my weight, because I struggled with disordered eating as a teen, and I just don't want to know the number. I don't want to know what it is, because I don't want that to be my motivation to make unhealthy choices for myself. So, but I do know that I put on over 100 pounds in a 12-month span, less than that. And it really changed everything about my health, the way that I couldn't move freely. It was very difficult for me to get up and down. I was having pain, chronic pain in areas of my body that I'd never experienced it before. Everything was really puffy. My hands were huge and swollen, and my arms were swollen, and just everything. And no, everyone was just oh, I stopped getting a period. Anyone who owns a uterus will tell you, when you talk to your doctor, they'll be oh, well, you just need to lose weight. You just need to lose weight, drink more water, sleep better at night. I couldn't do those things. I wasn't sleeping. I was waking up sweating. I could not lose weight no matter what I did. I was drinking electrolyte water like it was my job. Yeah, it was pretty awful. I wasn't used to it. Things that used to be comforting to me were no longer comforting to me, because I couldn't fit in my favorite spot on the couch. None of my clothes fit, and I kept having to buy bigger sizes with money that I didn't have. So I'm going to Goodwill, which is great. I love Goodwill. But I just kept getting bigger, and I couldn't understand it. And it was making me really depressed, because I just I'd gone through so much mentally, and now I'm looking in the mirror and I don't even recognize myself, and I don't recognize how I feel, along with all of the other things. I started having gallbladder attacks, where I had to call 911 because I thought I was having a heart attack. It happened several times. I had issues with my liver. All kinds of stuff was happening, and no one was giving me answers. I actually went in to see my PCP about not having periods, and they sent me to I don't really know what they're classified as, but they're who I saw when I was pregnant, and they do just like women's reproductive health stuff, mostly pregnancy. But and I talked to them, and they were like, okay, well, we could put you on birth control. And I immediately was like, absolutely not. Birth control wreaks havoc on my mental health, and it's never been good for me. And they just kept saying over and over again, well, you have to have a period. You have to have a period. And why? I know plenty of people who don't have periods. Anyway, they put me on HRT to stimulate a period. I almost said pregnancy. Not that. And that was awful. It made me sick. It made me really, really, really angry and moody. And I had the most horrendous premenstrual symptoms, because I also have PMDD. So before any of this, I have PMDD. So not only was I experiencing like cramping and stomach issues to the point where like I couldn't get up, but I'm also like, I'm depressed and I'm crying all the time and I'm angry, and it was miserable. But I got a period, and it was a horrible, horrible, heavy period, which triggered my PTSD from my hemorrhage. So that was cool. But it was terrible, and it didn't solve the problem. I didn't get another period after that. Very shortly after that, I had surgery to have my gallbladder removed. And these are all like little like bits and pieces, and people are like, okay, this is going to help, and this is going to help this, and this is going to help that. And nothing was really helping. I did make a decision when I got my gallbladder removed. Is something that I'd thought about for years, and just decided this would be the best time to do it. But I switched to a pescatarian diet. None of this is for any ethical reasons other than I don't really like a lot of meat to begin with. So I was like, well, to be gentle on my body, and to sort of transition into a healthier eating like lifestyle for me, now's a good time. So I switched to, I have not had meat since March. I had my procedure in March. It is currently September. But yeah, that was an easy transition for me in terms of switching my diet. Jeez, I can't clear my throat today. I wasn't, excuse me. Great, I'll have to edit that out. Mark clip. And then I woke up one day, it was March 12th or March 11th. And I had to get my oldest on the bus, and I had to get my youngest up and out of bed. And I had a horrible headache, and it would not get better. It continuously and rapidly got worse and worse and worse, which triggered me because that was a big symptom around the time of my postpartum hemorrhage. But it was so horrible. Couldn't move. Getting up and down would send surges of literally the worst pain I've ever experienced, worse than childbirth. And I had to have my husband come home, and he drove me to our local hospital and dropped me off because we still had the 1-year-old, my youngest. She's 2 now, but and he left me there because we didn't have a choice. And I waited, and when they called me, I was like, I don't think I can walk. So they came and got me in a wheelchair, and I came in and I just started crying uncontrollably, told them what was going on. They got me into a room. I could go into every little minute detail. Not going to do that. But what I'm going to say is I won't be going to that hospital ever again unless it's for something very, very simple. I'm alone in a room. They're pumping me full of all different kinds of pain medications and anti-nausea medications. They did initially do a CT scan of my head. They did not use contrast. They didn't see anything. So all day, I was there all day, pumping me full of just things that I did not want in my system, and they weren't helping. And also, I don't know how many times I hit the call button because I just wasn't okay. Nobody showed up. I thought my call button was broken. And at one point I was like, I don't know if I was shouting or what, but to the point where the people in the room next to me were like, we'll go get someone. And there will be people that ask, well, like, were they super busy? Were they super slammed? No. It was a very quiet day in that ER. I just wasn't being attended to. And I'd gone through so much of that and not been listened to through my whole PMADs journey that this was so triggering. Eventually, my mom came and sat with me, and she sort of tried to be my advocate, but they were like, there's nothing else we can really do. And they sent me home, and I was still in so much pain that I was crying. I was crying and like hobbling out of that ER. Same thing when I got home. And I don't think I slept that night. I don't really know. But I do know that the next day it was just as bad, if not worse. And I called my doctor again, and they told me to go to UVM. UVM in Vermont is the big state hospital. So I did that. And I got there. They were very, very accommodating to my needs. This was at night. So my mom and my stepdad came over while the girls were in bed. And they were kind of just like waiting until we would come back. But I got there. I was not okay, but I advocated for myself. And I was like, listen, I have medical PTSD and medical trauma. The last hospital I was at, this is what happened. This is what I'm experiencing. Also, I do not want benzos. I have a history with benzos, not in abusing benzos in any way, but that please don't prescribe that for me at all. And they were so receptive and very gentle with me. They didn't immediately start pumping me full of pain medicines. They did like magnesium and something else. And they ordered a CT with contrast, which was different than what I'd had at the other hospital. At this point, it's like 11:30, 12 o'clock, middle of the night. And I hear that someone from the neurology team is going to come talk to me. Panic, obviously. Someone from neurology came to talk to me and just said, we're going to order an MRI. We need a clearer picture of what we're looking at. And so we didn't know at that point, but obviously didn't think it was good. So my poor parents are sitting here at my house, and we didn't text them or anything because we were so panicked, and we didn't want them to be in the same state that we were in. We wanted them to sleep because we certainly weren't sleeping. I got my MRI, I think, at like 4 o'clock in the morning. So again, another night, no sleep in an ER. Got the MRI with contrast, and neurology came back to tell me that I had a mass on my pituitary gland, and it was bleeding into my brain. It was hemorrhaging into my brain. And anyone who has been in a situation like that will know, like, time stops. My husband and I are just looking at each other, and they're like, we're going to have someone more senior on the team come talk to you. So we're left alone with this information for a little while. Obviously, our minds both immediately go to cancer. Cancer is all over my family. And it's also a big part of my personal life. Like, I volunteer at a pediatric oncology camp. And so, like, it's just something I know about, not from experiencing it firsthand, but from watching family members go through it, very close family members, losing family members, losing friends, working with campers, losing campers. Anyway, so I look at my husband and I'm like, okay, listen, it's going to be okay. I was like, we have connections. I was like, my mom is, she actually is the program director or a program director at this pediatric oncology camp. And I was like, my mom will make sure that we get the best oncologists and she'll connect us with all the right people and I'm going to be okay. My husband and I both not knowing if that was going to be true or not. But I just kind of was like, it's fine. It's fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And we're waiting and waiting and waiting. And I honestly can't tell you what time it was the wee hours. But someone from neurology comes to tell me I'm being transferred to. So we finally reached out to my mom and just let her know what was going on. Because at that point we had a little bit more of a definitive answer. And so I'm rushed up to neuro ICU. This is all so reminiscent of my postpartum hemorrhage. And so I'm not doing great. And I'm still in so much pain because my brain is actively bleeding. My nurse in neuro ICU was phenomenal. ICU is unique in that you are literally attended to all the time. You have cameras on you on top of all of your monitors. Your nurse comes in way more frequently than this, but like they have to come in every hour, just take like vitals. And I have all kinds of teams coming to talk to me. I have neurosurgery coming to talk to me. I have endocrinology coming to talk to me. I have neuro-ophthalmology coming to talk to me. I'm immediately put on high-dose IV steroids because apparently that's what you have to do in this particular situation. Talking about whether I'm going to have surgery, like imminent, all so much. It's so much, and I'm barely digesting any of it. And yeah, I'm still in pain. I spent a little over 24 hours in neuro ICU when my team, I guess, decided they were not going to do immediate surgery. I am still actively bleeding, but I can't tell you. I don't remember what the reasoning behind it was. But it was explained to me that the tumor in my pituitary gland is not uncommon in birthing people. It usually will hemorrhage shortly after childbirth. They can't tell me when I got it, and they don't know why it's hemorrhaging now. But it's not, while it's uncommon, it's not wildly uncommon. And from whatever they were seeing, because I had to get another MRI that day, they didn't think emergent surgery was necessary. So I was moved to the general neurosurge floor, where I spent the better part of a week, which was super traumatic in and of itself. I don't even know how deep I want to get into this, but like the room I was in was not conducive to any sort of rest or healing. My roommate, absolutely nothing to do with this person whatsoever, not their fault. What they were going through was beyond their control, but it made it very, very difficult for me to get any kind of sleep or rest. I'll say this person they weren't in their right mind at the time. And so they felt that they were in danger a lot of the time. So there was a lot of commotion in my room at all hours of the day and night. So that experience was not great. My partner was there every day. My in-laws and my mom and my stepdad really stepped up with the kids. But yeah, I had the nurses. We love nurses. We love nurses. The nurses gave me so much more information and so much more just compassion than any of the doctors that I saw. The whole time I was there, I was having to give like urine samples and blood samples on, I think first it was every 3 hours and then it moved to every 6 hours. But it got to the point, because they literally come in the middle of the night, the phlebotomists, it's just what they do. And it got to the point where I would just like have my sleep mask on and I'd just stick my arm out and be like, go ahead. Bruises all over my arms from being stuck so many times. And it was awful. But after, like I said, the better part of a week, they let me go home. was still on steroids. They were trying to wean me off the steroids. I was no longer on IV steroids. I was taking oral steroids. And they said, okay, we're going to send you home. You are still bleeding. So here's a list of restrictions. It was ridiculous. Like, not ridiculous in the sense of it was just a lot. I couldn't be alone. I couldn't drive. I couldn't lift. I essentially was like on bed rest. Because I'm still, at this point, I'm still bleeding into my brain, just not as severely as I was. So think of like the initial part as like the waterfall or like the dam breaking. And at this point, it's kind of more of like a stream or a trickle. So I'm sent home and I'm told like, yep, you're still going to experience headaches, but they shouldn't be as severe. You're at risk for seizures. You're at risk for, like, if you have any, the things to look out for, seizures, even like small twitches, vision changes, pain increasing, any of those things, like, you come straight back. But I couldn't be alone, and they were weaning me off of the steroids. Their weaning process was so fast, and I got incredibly sick. Part of the reason you're on the steroids, I guess I should have explained this at first. Your pituitary gland controls your hormone production for all of the hormones that are needed to live. And mine wasn't working because it had a tumor on it that was bleeding. So the steroids were helping with that, with like cortisol levels and other things. They weaned me off of them way too fast, and I got incredibly sick again. So they immediately put me back on them. Spoiler alert, I'm still on them. And like I said, this was March and it is now September. Anyway, I'm at home. I had to basically be babysat. I couldn't take care of my kids. Again, if you listened to my first episode, like my episode, that's an incredible trigger for me. All I wanted to do was take care of my kids, and I couldn't because I was so ill mentally and physically. So the PTSD and the flashbacks, hard as hell. And I was in the middle of recording episodes for the podcast, and I had hit a really good stride, and I was meeting really cool people, and I had to like halt all of that. I couldn't look at screens. So my husband helped me in reaching out to people. Everybody was amazingly understanding. Paused the podcast and got babysit for, and then I don't even remember exactly when it was sometime around June, either the beginning of June or the middle of June. I got another MRI, and at that point, there was no longer any sign of the tumor. So it literally bled itself to death, but my pituitary gland was damaged. The extent of that damage, we don't know, and we're still trying to figure out. But at that point, a lot of my restrictions were lifted. I was able to drive again because I wasn't at risk for having a seizure. I was actually able to fly at the end of June to visit my husband's family in another state. But I'm still not making the hormones that I'm supposed to be making, and I'm sick. Like, I've now entered, I was sick all the time before, but now it was becoming like even more unpredictable, and it was different things. And it's all hormone related. But now I fall into the chronically ill category, which is fun. Let's put that on top of everything. So I have issues with regulating my body temperature. I have extreme hot flashes, and I never know when I'm going to get them. I have bowel issues, and I never know when that's going to happen. Extreme fatigue, super extreme heat sensitivity, just a general feeling of like getting hit by a train. Like when you have the flu, like I never know if I'm going to feel like that. And I don't mean that like, I don't know if I'm going to wake up like that. Sometimes it's like that, or sometimes it hits me in the middle of the day because my hormones are so out of whack. But that's jumping around a lot, but that's still where I am right now. I'm still on steroids. I'm still getting blood work done. I have to get blood work done this week to test my thyroid levels because I'm having issues with my thyroid. But yeah, and I'm developing all of these new things. In terms of like the reason I brought up the weight thing is because one of the symptoms of this tumor is water retention and rapid weight gain. Once the tumor was gone, I started sort of noticing I wasn't so puffy anymore, and my body has changed. I'm still absolutely not in the type of body that I had prior to all of this, but again, it's not about what it looks like. It's about like I can now put my socks on by myself, and I can go up and down stairs most of the time without completely losing my breath. And I can get up and down off the couch without rolling around. So things have shifted and changed in multiple ways since the last scan. I will be continued to be monitored by neuro. I think I have another MRI in like 3 months to see what my pituitary gland looks like and to see if there is any regrowth. Endocrinology is following me, although lately they haven't been the greatest communicators because I'm really not in a great place health-wise. It's really affecting my daily living. But I'm doing my best to advocate for myself. But yeah, and so I went through this whole like shift, like, well, do I even qualify? Do I like belong in the PMAD community, or was this tumor all along? And what I've sort of come to for myself is like, I may have had the tumor all along, and that could be why I was as sick as I was, and because it can absolutely affect your mental health and your physical health. But I still experience perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. If I had the tumor then, which I really think I did, it probably amplified everything and made things way worse than they would have been under different circumstances. So that's been it was a weird sort of thing for me to try and navigate. Like, do I still fit in this community? And I believe that I do. And whether I fit or not, this community that I've created is really for the people who are sharing their stories. And yeah, so where I'm at right now, I just got out of therapy and we just talked about this, but like my life is but like it's both and. It's not a but, it's both and. So I am sick a lot of the time. I can also find joy in things. I am on a lot of medications that I'm not comfortable being on. And those medications allow me to get up and take care of my kids most days. I am experiencing PTSD and flashbacks like crazy. And I'm surviving. And I'm using my coping skills. So life is always crazy. But life is pretty crazy right now. Luckily, I have an incredibly supportive husband and family who are there for me through all of this. No questions asked. I finished season 3 a while ago. I've got season 4 done, not edited, but recorded. And I still have over 45 people who have booked with me. My 2024 calendar is full. It's full. I've just had to open up my 2025 calendar, and that blows my mind. I will never be able to express my gratitude for the people who decide to share their stories with me. I truly believe that every person that I meet through Quiet Connection comes to me at the exact moment that they're supposed to, because my job is to help them share their story. It's not about me. But as I'm taking it in, I like little pieces of me are being validated or little pieces of me are being healed. And when we end the recording, I usually will be like, oh, it's like this huge sigh. And I'm like, thank you. Like, you have no idea and you couldn't know this, but you just totally healed a little part of me that needed to hear what you said. So yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It's a crazy ride. One that I'm still very dedicated to, but also mindful of my health My health and my mental health are my main priority. I am on disability. I'm not able to work due to compounding things. So Quiet Connection is not a job for me. I don't make any money from Quiet Connection, from the podcast. And that's not what it's about. I make my schedule myself, keeping in mind that my physical and mental health can change on a moment's notice, and being confident enough to advocate for myself to tell a guest when that's true and when I can't, when I need to reschedule, or when I need to, or if I can't put out content or whatever. I don't know. I don't understand the whole content creation and algorithm thing, but I'm putting myself and my family first, because above everything else, and throughout this whole over 2 years now, the only thing that I care about is my family and my kids. And I can say that with my whole chest. I really, truly, truly do not have the time or the energy to put into anybody's opinions, anybody's just hate, I guess. I don't know. I've run into that a couple of times, but I am using my spoons to focus on the things that fulfill me, fill my cup, if you want to use that term. And as a people pleaser in my healing phase, it's been very difficult for me to say no, or to advocate for myself, or to stand up for myself. And it's getting easier because it has to be. So I'm getting better at saying no. I'm getting better at asking for understanding. I'm getting better at setting boundaries. But that's where I'm at right now. I don't think I missed anything. Probably did. But yeah, I'm meeting incredible people from all over the world, helping them share their stories, and feeling just more confident in being me, and also realizing that Quiet Connection is not me. I am me. I am Chelsea. Quiet Connection is something that I'm doing to create a community for people who need one, and for people who don't feel heard or seen or validated, because that's where I was. And that's not quite the episode that you guys are used to. You did a lot of listening to just me, and if you're still here, I appreciate it. But yeah, maybe there'll be a part 3 at some point. Ben and I, my husband and I, will very likely do another episode at some point, just for another partner's perspective, because our relationship has really shifted a lot through this whole thing, and not in a negative way, but it's changed. It's changed us for sure. But yeah, so there's your Chelsea, my story, part 2. Again, head on over to Patreon and help support me and my mission, because every little bit helps. And I absolutely love, if you do the 3rd tier, I love making the stickers and sending the mail. I love snail mail. It's my favorite thing ever. And please make sure, if you are so inclined, to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you get podcasts. Please leave a review or a rating. A, it helps boost my visibility, and B, it really genuinely gives me feedback on how I can better be serving this community. So yeah, I'll do my little spiel, I guess. If you want to follow along with us on Quiet Connection, you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Quiet Connection Podcast. You can check us out. Check out my website, quietconnectionpodcast.com, or if you want to share your story, you can email me at quietconnectionppmh@gmail.com. And thanks for being on this journey with me. And always remember, you are not alone. I see you. Motherhood's messiest moments, we're airing them out.
Odd Moms on Call is the podcast where a no BS mom squad tackles parenting, politics, and everything in between.
It's like venting to your besties, but with mics.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Buzzsprout and grab a seat at the table.